man was manufactured by human beings using the various means of productions and natural resources. So everything in your life, from the chair you're sitting in right now to whatever device you're listening to Bro Diallo on, to whatever clothing you have on your back, the shoes you have on your feet, the tissue you're using to wipe your child or loved one's nose, was all made by people who were using the means of production and natural resources. And more likely than not, those people were working in cooperation and coordination with other people. And it got to you that way. Meaning that I couldn't be here on the air if John and the programmers and the website dude and the audio engineers, all the people that make Q4 radio at AM 1680, Q4.org, that make this possible. I am just one element, but we all coordinate and we all stick to a certain protocol and certain standards. I can't just stroll in here at any time. We have to coordinate. So what makes Q4 possible is, even though these people around here, let me tell you, Q4, they got some crazy ideas, like radical socialists. I don't tell them I told you. So even though we're socialists around here, we're radical. We're non-hierarchical, anarcho, if you must. The anarchy, the socialism, the radical ideas are not what makes this station possible. It's the people, flesh and bone, coming together to work and then setting up the rules and the standards and the protocols to make sure the FCC and other regulatory agencies aren't on our backs trying to shut us down. It's a coordinated effort. Same thing with my ink pen, same thing with the radio program. So why do people run around saying capitalism gave us this or capitalism gave us that? Or why do people believe that socialism will give us this or give us that? And that's the way to look at it. Let's really look at this. What is capitalism? Does capitalism drive innovation? Does capitalism improve our lives? Does capitalism make us rich or give us an opportunity to be rich if we're willing to secure the bag or whatever rhetoric we're using for being a parasite on other people? Let's talk about it. But before, let me establish what that is. If you want to make a car in Venezuela, which is unapologetically, like, there's no such thing as a capitalist car or a Soviet car. You know, Germany makes some of the best car, but if you look at the German economy, it's democratic socialist economy. You go to Switzerland, they're socialist. Now they are smart enough, they're unlike Venezuela, to stand up and say, we're socialists. They say, hey, we're democratic socialists. Oh, we just have social pride. We just have a strong social safety net, because they don't want to get bombed. Because socialism fails, because socialism is a bomb magnet. Every socialist country, the capitalists swear to us, socialism doesn't work, it'll never work. Why? Because if you do it, I'm gonna bomb the hell out of you. That's why it won't work, because I'll kill you. It's kind of like, it's an abusive man, and his wife says, I want to go out and make my own money and start my own life. I don't want to just be your helpmeet as God demanded. I don't want to just serve to make your life comfortable, making food, bearing your children, and keeping your domicile clean. I have my own plans, plots, and schemes. I have my own dreams. Then he's like, baby, if you do that, you're going to fail. If you go out into the world, try to enroll in school, if you try to create something, sew something, and manufacture something and sell it on the internet, if you go out and just search for a job, you're going to fail. It's like, really, why do you think I'm going to fail? He said, because if you do any of that, I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm going to knock the hell out of you. So you're a failure. And you're a failure because every time you try to accomplish something, I beat you down. So is the woman a failure? I guess. That's how socialism happens. Fails. Same type of relationship. Just try to scale it down so you can comprehend why socialism fails. But anyway, Venezuela, socialist, unapologetically, Bolivarian revolution, Viva Maduro. The oil in their country is not Venezuelan oil. It's not socialist oil. The oil in Saudi Arabia is not Arab oil. It's not Islamic oil. It's not monarchical oil. It's not totalitarian oil. The oil that used to be in the United States before the avaricious capitalists sucked this country dry. The United States used to be the Saudi Arabia. Was the first oil economy, was in the United States. Go back and look at your grandma's reruns of Dallas. Oil rigs all over. They suck the country dry. They want to suck the rest of the planet dry. They want to suck the Arctic dry. We'll more on that. We'll try to get to that. But it's just oil. And the oil don't know that it's capitalist oil, monarchical oil, socialist oil. The oil is just oil. So how do we come to say capitalist oil? Oh, Maduro, the socialist country and the socialist resources. Resources, ain't no socialist sunlight, ain't no socialist water, ain't no capitalist soil, ain't no capitalist air. It all just is. So all these systems are things that we conceptualize. And what does it mean? If you make a car in a socialist company, like in Germany, the German, by law, everything's unionized in the auto manufacturing, and on the board of directors, by mandate, the board of director has to have representatives of labor and the union on the board of directors. That's all socialism. And y'all drive around in Mercedes-Benz as evidence of your capitalist achievement, when the highest evidence of capitalist achievement comes out of a socialistic development or socialistic business model. So that means nothing. It makes no sense. But here's the thing. Here's the real difference. When you say I'm a capitalist versus I'm a socialist, that doesn't all of a sudden change your physiology. It doesn't change your needs. You still need the basic nutrients and shelter and clothing and dryness that you need to survive as a socialist. And if you go into production, if I'm a socialist and I want to grow food and you're a capitalist and you want to grow food, there's certain things that we can't escape. There's certain fundamental elements we both need. So what's the difference? The difference is not manufacturing. All manufacturing in this country is socialist. What is socialist? Coordinated, cooperative. Sharing and cooperation. If you go to a hospital and it's a capitalist hospital, they don't go in there. What are the fundamental principles of socialism? Sharing, cooperation. Capitalism, competition, accumulation. Means you outdo everybody and you get everything for yourself. So I've been in the hospital quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. And I wouldn't go to a capitalist hospital, i.e., I wouldn't go to a hospital where every freaking doctor competes against every doctor. And then I look at if this doctor succeeds and has a successful surgery, it is detrimental to me being a successful doctor because they'll get more patients, thus get more money. So not only am I going to try to out-compete him and the patients, I'm going to hoard all the surgical instruments. I'm going to try to take the best technology and keep it to myself, proprietary. And if I come up with a new surgical technique, I'm not going to teach the other doctors this new technique. I'm going to be the only one with the technique. But even though I can maybe perform at my maximum 50 surgeries a week. And so even though I can only do 50 a week, there's 200 people that need this procedure. So I'll just take the top 50 highest paying people and the other 200 y'all can die. That's crazy, right? It'd be crazy to run a hospital like that, but that's how we run the housing market. A person could buy 500 houses and leave them all empty, board them up. It's my property while people sleep on the street. So you wouldn't want to go to a capitalist hospital. Hospitals are socialistic in their operations. All of the medical professionals are to coordinate. They are expected to share their information. If you come up with a new technique or you realize there's a new disease out there, immediately you want to write it down and distribute it to all of the doctors and all of the hospitals. You share knowledge freely. If you are a medical professional that hoards information and won't share it and won't teach, if you come up with a technique for putting in a stent in an artery, you come up with a less invasive method for C-section delivery, and you are the only one who does it, and you won't allow anyone else, you don't even I don't want the nurses to come in. This is a proprietary technique. So no nurses. I don't want anybody. Anesthesia out. Everybody get out because it's mine. It's my secret. It's my intellectual property. I own it. Pay me. Do you know more people would die that die now? So hospitals, if you work in the medical system, I worked as a radiographer for 13 years. It is a socialistic environment. I have to cooperate with the nursing staff. I have to coordinate and cooperate with the phlebotomy, the laboratory, and you got diagnostic radiation has to coordinate and work with the treatment or level. It's very socialist. We share and we coordinate. If my department has a bunch of blankets or other instruments, anything they need, and the nursing stations or the ER was running low, they could run up to radiology and say, listen, we need blankets. We've got a large car pileup. Can you give us share some extra resources? In fact, we know you have nurses up here. Can the nurses come down to the ER because we've got a deficit down here and you guys have an abundance? And we didn't say, well, pay us. Are you going to owe us and we're going to write it down? Like, of course. Radiology, we only got 3 patients up here and they're fine. You got 24 patients down there. Yeah, we're going to shunt and we send techs downstairs. We're going to send extra people. We're going to help you to get over this deficit and rebalance out the facilities. That's socialism. Everywhere, the manufacturer, you go to an iPhone place. Imagine a tech company where the programmers don't want to share with the engineers. The people who make the physical thing, who make the hardware, don't want to coordinate, and they're in competition against the people who write the software program for the hardware. Everything is socialist. Everything. The only thing that doesn't require you to coordinate, if you're a lone person, if I come up with an idea for a better smartphone, and I'm like, I'm a capitalist, so I'm in competition with everybody, and I don't want to share. I want to keep every dime that comes from this cell phone my damn self. Or at least 99% of all the money that comes in for this business is mine. So not only do I come up with this great idea, I have to write the software. I have to not only come up with the idea of how the phone would function, but come up with design expertise. And now I have to go to Africa and mine the coltan. I have to put together the silicate. I have to run the factory and run up and down the stairs, run the whole factory, manufacture. I could probably put out one phone every 6 months if I was a true capitalist. But if I say the profits are capitalist, but the work is socialist. So I got this great idea. I wrote this line of code, but I need something. The code is just something I wrote out or typed out. I need an instrument. So I get with a software engineer. I get with a design person. I got to get with a promotional team to advertise. I got to go find manufacturers. I need miners. I need engineers. And hell, even people I don't interact with directly, like the enforcement, the patent enforcement and copyright enforcement. All of these government technocrats and these government bureaucrats and the people who paved the road. Because if I got these delicate technological instruments and they're on bumpy roads, and they get all jarred up before they can get to the distributor. So I depend on all these different people working together. And if all these people were only concerned with their own accumulation, competing against everybody else, if people didn't work together and coordinate, if other drivers didn't respect the traffic laws, every driver competed against every other driver. Instead of saying having a lawful conveyance, it looks like NASCAR. Everything is socialist. Everything. Manufacturing. Bezos, y'all been to orientations. Name a company you go to work for, and it's like, welcome to our company. And the main purpose of this company is to outdo all the other workers. You need to accumulate everything for yourself and compete against everybody and outdo everybody. And whoever at the end of the day has the best keyboard, the best cubicle, and the most ink pens and post-its in your cubicle, you're the winner. Your ass will get fired. They say, we're a team, we're a family. Let's all work together. And if you got some information, share it. And if you see someone, and if there's one department that's struggling, then you know how to help, then you step up and you take charge. And you'll get a placard, you'll get celebrated. That's socialism at your workplace. Even they say this is a capitalist corporation. You go work at Walmart and you go into Walmart and try to engage in competition and accumulation at work. You will be fired. They want you to work, to cooperate, to share. And if you work in produce and the dairy department, or if you work in produce and the clothing retail department has an issue and your boss says, listen, produce is fine, it's quiet over here, but it's Black Friday and electronics, everybody wants to get a flat screen TV, you go over to work in electronics for the rest of your shift. And you were like, no, I want dairy to be the best. And I work in the dairy department and that's it, and I'm in competition with the electronics. They would fire your dumb ass. Because it's socialist. When there is a deficit, they expect you to step up. When you have an abundance in your department and your other quote-unquote competing department has a deficit, you're supposed to rebalance that. That's socialism. So why, since everything is socialist, why do we think everything is capitalist? Because only thing capitalist does is you have socialist system and you come in and you create a system where the product of the labor, the product of socialism is allowed to be hoarded by the owners of the means of production. Private ownership of the means of production. And ownership does not mean work. I could own a fleet of cars and never drive one of those cars. I got a fleet of trucks. I got 500 trucks, and I don't even have a CDL. I don't even know what my trucks look like because I own those trucks in Bangladesh. I own those trucks in Southeast China. And I saw a piece of paper, and I signed a piece of paper, and then I gave some more paper to these people called money. Say, here's some money, here's my signature. I own those trucks on the other side of the world that I don't drive, I don't never see. And then the people who drive those trucks, the people who take the risk, the people who get the education, they'll get something. But I get the most. So a man goes to work and gets on these roads and risks his life, breathing in diesel fuel exhaust, shortening his lifespan, spending time away from his family. While I, as the capitalist, live in a mansion in a clean area at the top of a mountain. And I don't breathe in diesel fuel. I don't have to deal with trying to get ran off the road, trying to drive. You see these brothers driving these big ass trucks in these crowded, congested cities. And I put my feet up and I cool and relax. But because capitalism allows that, socialism says, no, you can't do it. You cannot do that. It's not allowed in socialism and it's encouraged in capitalism. That's the only difference. I could sit up and own things I never see. If I had the money, I could buy tracts of real estate in New York City. I could develop something in Arkansas and never go there, never see it, never touch it. And somebody comes and say, look at these building structures, look at this housing units. Where did that come from? Oh, Bro Diallo owns that. Bro Diallo owns this tract of housing? Absolutely. How? Did he cut the lumber? No. Did he bring the drywall? No. Did he paint? No. Did he cut the keys for the front door? No. Did he install one freaking light bulb? No, he didn't. What did he do? Well, he had some papers and some signatures. And then when the people got these papers and the signature, the people did the work. And what did the paper and the signature do? It allowed people to do the work. How? Well, if they didn't have the paper and the signatures to do the work, and they tried to do the work, then people would show up and shoot them. What? Okay, check it out. If I'm a builder, and I go find an electrician, a plumber, all these people with all these skills, and they all licensed and bonded, and we say there are homeless people right now. So let's go talk to the lumber yard and get the wood and do all of this, and we're going to go build this person a structure, and the structure is going to be 100% code compliant. And then we're going to say, hey, person, move in this house. Before we did stick one shovel in the ground, we will all be in handcuffs. They were like, first of all, do you own this land? No, but it's empty land. Whoa, 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 whoa. Did you pay the fees? Did you pay for this? Did you pay for that? Did you pay for this? Who owns it? Who is the contractor? Like, we don't need a contractor. We have all the skilled labor. We have all the materials. But where's the paper? Where's the fiat? Where are the signatures? Don't need any of that. That doesn't help to build the house. Yeah, but it allows us to control. And it allows us to determine who the resources will go to when this person is dwelling in their house. It's like, oh yeah, we don't want people to have free housing because people aren't worth housing. We're born into sin. We're nothing. So fine, we're going to charge this person a fee. We're going to charge each individual, and this person's going to have a mortgage. And this person, in their time of their mortgage, every electrician, every drywaller, every plumber, every landscaper that has worked in this house, we're going to take their mortgage and divide it amongst the people who actually made the house. You don't have a developer? What's a developer? A person who puts up the money. Well, we didn't have to put up the money. There was no need for money because the resources were already there. The lumber was already there. We already have the skill. So all we need, what does the work is people, human energy. So everything that we need to make the house is already there. But you need the green light the project. You can't just do a project. It's a trance. And people cannot think outside of this trance. There are people who really think, I can't eat food without a blessing. And you take food that was not blessed, and you take food that was blessed and put it under a microscope. Praying over food does nothing for it. Praying over food does not help to plant the food, to cultivate the food, to harvest the food, to process the food, to package the food, to put the food on the grocery store, but to purchase the food, to take the food home, to season and cook the food, put the food on the plate, and put it in front of you. All that could be done without prayer. Prayer is absolutely unnecessary. But there are people who have self-delusion, self-hypnotized and say, hey, the only thing that matters is thank God for that food. When in no process was God necessary. It's the same thing with money. The same thing with cash money. What you gonna do? Ain't nobody gonna. Not only do you need money to do things, you need to justify how someone's gonna make money off of those things. Who's gonna make a buck? Who's gonna make a dollar? So that's where capitalism comes in. It's a means of accumulating the work of everybody into the hands of the few. It's a means of justifying giving your labor to someone else. That's it. Profit is theft. If you're doing work, if you're generating profit, that means you're paying people less than what they produce. If I come to work and I produce $100 with my labor, I do $100 worth of work, and you pay me $25, then you got $75 profit. Let's say you pay me $25, but you own the means of production, and I make birdhouses, and you sell every birdhouse for $100, and you got to pay me $25 to make the birdhouse, and then you spend another $10, or let's say you spend another $25 on labor and facilities and everything and taxes. You still got $50 profit while sitting on your ass doing nothing to contribute. But we worship those who make profit when we should hate them. We should resent them. We should subvert them. We should fight them. And there's another thing about profit. It degrades people. There's a really good book called Insane Caesars. And they say, power corrupts. But what they don't tell us is that the power that corrupts, it ain't just in terms of, when you talk about corruption, stealing money or being unethical. Corruption is absolute insanity. It literally drives people mad. And I don't know, maybe some of y'all, I've had an opportunity to be around millionaires, multimillionaires. In my life and in my work, I've had an opportunity to be around not just comfortable people, well-to-do people, obscenely rich people. And I've never seen one that was whole, that was sane. Now, they're starting to understand this in professional psychological circles, this thing they call affluenza. But when you are humans, and I've always struggled with this. But Kwame Ture said that human beings have an instinctive love of justice. And there's evidence of it, because even the most evil people pretend like they're good people. Trump swears. Remember, Trump says, nobody's better a Christian than me. All these evil, wicked Republicans, hypocrites. Jerry Falwell Jr., they just found out he went around telling people about God's judgment. They just found out he's into some freaky deaky. In Kansas City, a lot of us kids are street kids. They would send us off to Job Corps. And there was this huge Job Corps facility in Utah. And if you know Utah, you know it's Mormonism. And there would be, and some of them I knew personally, young black kids, 16, 17, 18 years old. And they would tell them, listen, you don't have a chance in school. You're not going to college. You'd be lucky to graduate high school. So they send us off to Job Corps. Me and my sister got those same letters. And get an opportunity. Go to Job Corps and learn a trade. You don't need to be educated. You just need to be trained. And a lot of young, it sounded like a really good option for a lot of young brothers and sisters. And in Kansas City, they'd send and talk to your cousins, your uncles, who should be in their 40s now, that went off to Job Corps from the Midwest to that major Job Corps center in Utah, and talk to them. And you two things you know about Utah: a lot of money there and a lot of Mormons. Very religious, very wealthy. And those wealthy Mormons and other evangelical right-wing Republicans, they had this whole facility full of poor, underserviced, uneducated black kids who want to try to make something of their lives. And they would come back to Kansas City with these stories. How they were walking home from the campus, walking to the dorms from the campus, and a limo would pull up. And they'd get a young black man, a teenage black boy, and bring him to their mansion and watch him pay him to have sex with their wives in front of them. And things like that. I mean, I know the people this has happened to. Because what happens is, when you have a lot of money, and you have a weird backwards ideas about you justifying, I'm blessed, I deserve it, and you know damn well you ain't done nothing for it. And you start to rework in your mind to justify, to make yourself righteous. The man who beats his wife, in his mind has worked out, she makes me beat her. She deserved these beatings. I'm doing her good. The people who rob you, oh yeah, you signed that contract. You should have known better. You signed it, but you knew I didn't know better. And you're still wrong. Even if I signed it, you knew that what I expected is not what you gave me. Oh, you signed it. You signed it. You're the one that's bad. You're the one who should have read and paid attention. Mark Zuckerberg said in front of Congress and I'm doing a service. I'm doing good for humanity. So these parasites at the top, they all go insane, going all the way back to the first European, Greek, and Roman empires. The people who amass all this stuff. These rich people walking up and down the Gold Coast of Chicago, stepping over homeless people, knowing they have 5 or 6 houses. They have 2 summer homes. They have a house overseas. Like Puff Daddy said, I got so many homes I don't even buy luggage. And the rich people always fall into decadence. They have no real self-pride. And all of their worth comes from external. And then they don't have real intimate relationships with their children. Everybody wants what I got. It drives you insane. And there was in holistic cultures, there's a wonderful book on culture called Cows, Pigs, and Witches about how people develop myths and ideas about witchcraft and how various cultures have cultivated these ideas. So in a time where in Africa, there was no concept of private property. In the Americas, there was no concept of private properties. And so when the white man came here and said, we want to buy the island of Manhattan, and we want to give you these glass beads and whistles for Manhattan, the Indians were like, what the hell are you talking about? But fine, whatever. They had no concept of private property. In Kenya, when they were setting up the colonial system in Kenya, they couldn't get the Kenyan people to work for wages. Like, why would I work for money? I work to build. That's like fruitless labor. Like, if I'm going to work, I'm going to build a house for myself or my neighbor. I'm going to herd the cattle. I'm going to cultivate the land. That's work. What's working for money? You work for the things you need. If I'm going to work, if I don't need anything, I don't work. And if I need something, I get with other people and we work together. What do you mean work for wages? And they literally in Kenya had to kidnap the children and say, if you don't do this work, we'll kill your kids. Because they couldn't incentivize them with money and gold because they had no concept of property and ownership. It was cooperation and sharing, not competition and accumulation. And now this alien concept of relating to the world has not only been imposed on everybody, it's killing the world. It makes no sense. But we've bought into it. And we really believe, oh, I'm talking to you over the internet. Do you think the internet was developed by capitalists? Look at the history of the internet. Go look up DARPA. The internet was created by socialism. All of the medical advancement, all of the advancements are socialistic. You go to a hospital, go get an MRI. They want to do an MRI on my son's leg. The MRI came out of the State University of New York. Socialism, public university, financed by public dollars and public bureaucrats on the government teat. Government workers, your tax dollars. It's all socialist for the people there. But then after the public creates the technology, they package it up and hand it over to private industry. So that the public takes the risk, the public makes the investment, and the private industry gets the profit. That's what capitalism is. That's what socialism isn't. Socialism says nothing but we understand that nothing good for humanity can be made unless there is cooperation and sharing. And so what we're going to do is not allow any individuals to become parasites and to profit or get gains from other people's cooperation and sharing. So even if you come up with a good idea, like Elon Musk created a very high efficiency rechargeable battery, but it doesn't care. It's like Immortal Technique said in one of his rhymes. He said, without me, you're nothing but a good idea. And what he was saying is, without the people that do the physical labor, all you got is a good idea. All you got, and forget about, even if you do all the work, if you're in your laboratory, in your garage, toiling away by yourself with no help from anyone else, guess what? You got to eat. And if the migrant farmers did not make the food, you'd be dead. You'd starve to death. So did you grow your own food that fed your wonderful mind? You got to drink. So the laborers, the unseen laborers who go down into the sewers that maintain the infrastructure so that you can get non-contaminated water and you can get nutritious food and clothing. And then when you're in there toiling away, the people that climb the poles so that your home can get electricity, they all invested in your idea, invested in sustaining you and keeping you alive. All the way back to your public school teacher. Everything is socialist. You already live a socialist life. The only problem is you have these parasites who feed off of your labor. And we're like, socialism doesn't work, when socialism is the only thing that does work. And just don't believe me. Start looking at socialism in your own life. And when you see something happening, look at it and say, who's profiting from this? Whether it's something good or bad. Whether it's your iPhone or whether it's the charter school system. Who's making a profit from this? And then when you find out the person who's making a profit, when you look at these dudes chase balls, even if you think LeBron is doing $1 billion worth of work, like who's generating the profit? Because LeBron is out there running and sweating and you know, in another 15, 20 years from now, they're going to have to do knee replacement and all kind of other stuff because these brothers run their bodies off a cliff to entertain you. And if you think that's worth millions of dollars, then that's on you. But who's making the profit? Because the profit is what you get that you didn't work for. That's what profit is. If you work for it, it's called your earnings. If you didn't work for it, it's called unearned income. It's called profit. So even though the ball chasers are making obscene earnings, who's making the profit? And then when you look at who's making the profit, I guarantee you they're not doing any of the work. And who's being exploited? Because you might say, oh, LeBron James not being exploited. Look at all the money he's making. Who airs up the basketball? Who cleans the floor? Who gets all that grimy muck and wipes up that smelly beer mixed with stale hot dog buns in the bleachers? And let's say those people didn't come to work. And the basketball wasn't aired out, the floor wasn't clean. Let's say the electrician say, hey, we're not going to light up this arena. The people who get nothing, the people who have to live off a credit card debt. And you don't think the damn basketball players should share some of that money with those people that make it possible? The people behind the scenes that you don't see? Even if you think LeBron James is worthy, I don't think anybody, to me, making $1 billion, nobody's done $1 billion worth of work. I mean, I think professional athletes, if they made middle class or lower middle class incomes, they'd be getting paid too much. That's me, though. But I know nobody's done, no matter how you value labor, no matter how you define worth. No one on this planet has done $1 billion worth of work. So every billionaire, and I would argue every multimillionaire, is an absolute parasite, is a thief. And y'all don't like thieves. And y'all don't want to be haters. So be it. Friday, we're going to talk about the rule of law.